All right, welcome everyone to a very special and the first episode of I Had No Idea podcast brought to you by Landlocked Entertainment. Today I'm joined with the one, the only, Mindy, and she is someone who has been such a crucial person in my life, especially with once, James passed away. To keep things short, she reached out and, she has a lot of knowledge and history and experience with death and with helping people and with getting advice and through serving the community and others. So I always had a hard time accepting love and accepting help, but for some reason I just had something in me that said, you know what, I should reach out. So it turned into us going on a walk.
Yeah.
And then after us going on a walk, it blossomed into a great friendship, and then a lot more walks.
And a lot more walks.
So I just want to say again, thank you for
Absolutely.
being there for me in a really hard time, and for being so willing to take time, because you're so busy, and it means a lot. So it doesn't ever go unnoticed.
Okay.
So thank you.
Yeah. Well,
thank you.
It's a real thing. So, it was meant to be. Who knows when you're going to meet those people that you're supposed to meet on your journey.
Yeah.
This was meant to be. This was part of our journey. So.
Yeah, it's funny because we've known each other for so long.
Right.
Known of each other.
Right.
And then the universe just sent us each other at the same time,
Yeah.
at the right time.
At the right time.
So,
yeah, absolutely. So.
I'm so excited because I know we've done previous podcasts.
Yes.
But I really wanted this podcast to be more so on how it can help others and how this podcast can serve as a great listen for people who are going through hard times, and they can hear from a professional. They can hear from someone who's been there and had to really kind of just find ways to help himself through dark times. So I think just kicking it off, are there beneficial or not beneficial? Are there things that you've seen through different people that helps with the loss and the grieving process? Is like walking or working out or finding a new hobby or, friendship and relationships?
Mm-hmm.
Is there a few things like that you've seen that a lot of people usually can find solitude in?
So, that's a really good question, because I think I sometimes feel that what I do is I deal with people that stay stuck, and so walking, in my opinion, is the best thing you can do for anything that ails you, just because of, what it does to your brain and your head and your ability to think and process and move through anything. And self-care, the basic stuff where you're eating right and you're sleeping. And if you don't take care of yourself, no matter what tragedy happens, it's just not gonna work, and it's gonna be a problem. And oftentimes when people are really sad and terrible things happen, it's people tend to really mistreat themselves. And so, it just compounds it, because the grief and the sadness, maybe you sleep too much or eat too much or smoke too much or drink too much or, drugs or whatever your vice happens to be, which then leads to another cycle of all kinds of things. And so Every single person is different. Death, even good deaths, depending on how you deal with it, can be awful. I mean, it's a loss. It's a loss, and it's that person is not tangible. You have to find your own way and make sense. So even if you're a faith-based person, whatever your faith happens to be, I mean, faith is all about believing. And it's not like you get to see that they've actually gone to heaven, or they've gone to a special place. You just have to believe that. That has always been the most difficult for me. I'm a lot more concrete than that, So having people around, having people that understand, how you're feeling, depending on the level of grief. I have someone that last year lost their son, who had become very successful. He was in his 50s, massive heart attack, just literally dropped dead. Like an attorney, like the best thing that ever happened to the family, because the family has really struggled. And And most likely this person will never completely be able to heal from that because they just lack the skills going into it. And then here you are. And some of those, like with James, those, those are the worst. The thing that you least expect, even if there's some issues going on, or a person has health issues, or, maybe their lifestyle leaves a little bit to be desired. You always think you have tomorrow. You always do. That's just how we're, I think, made up. So
I think a lot. I tell myself a lot. Tomorrow's never promised.
yes.
Because I have to remind myself that.
Yes.
Don't get too comfortable.
Yes. Yeah. Don't leave things unspoken.
Yeah.
You can only do what you can do. What you surround yourself by, whether it's gardens or animals or humans, or you have to find your peace. So it's a lot more of a struggle to find it when you're in the midst of trauma.
Yeah. So do you think having things in play beforehand, like just with your natural daily routine in life, you think it's important to have something there, so then when that death, or when poop hits the fan,
Yeah.
you're kind of already have some things ready?
Yes. But everybody thinks they have tomorrow.
Yeah.
Everybody thinks we have tomorrow. And I've been recently, I've gone through some things, and I've really been thinking so much about the importance of self-care and creating a self-care routine. Probably one of my biggest issues in life is that work-life balance. Because it's not only the full-time job, but it's so what I do for work is just kind of who I am.
Yeah.
And so it happens no matter what I'm doing, right? No matter where I am and what I'm doing.
And people are always reaching out.
They always reach out. And
at the worst time for you, I bet.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. And for me to set a limit when it is the worst time for them is something I just don't do it right now. I haven't really gotten to that place. But it is what I have to do. And so you pick and choose who it is that you're going to reach out to and you're going to embrace. And before that, you start teaching people skills. So most recently, I've been more mindful of that, because some of the people that I work with are very challenged with being able to learn skills and then actually doing them on their own. It's really good if I'm walking the walk with them. But when it comes to doing anything independently that might be good, they don't do a great job. And so I guess that would be my best advice. Either you start doing yoga and you do it all the time, or you join the gym. And even if you do, so I belong to Planet Fitness, and I am not a gym person, so I've really had to commit to this. But 20 to 30 minutes going in and doing weights, then you leave. That is nothing, and it has made a huge difference.
Good.
So
I'm glad to hear that.
Yes, and with the weather break, I can go back to campus walking.
Yep.
Been really upset that they messed up my campus route. So, I'm not happy, KU, you messed up my campus route, but now I found a new route.
Okay.
And so that's the cardio part.
Yeah.
Yeah. But all of this is so good for me, really good for me. And it has to be for me. And the me part of it is always the last thing that I am taking into account.
Yeah.
Retail therapy. I've coined retail therapy, going to, thrift stores and flea markets and, whatever that happens to be, so that you can find treasures. You're treasure hunting. You don't know what you're going to get. And then you get them for a price you can afford. And,
and it's sustainable because it's thrifted.
Yes. Recycled clothes, whatever, to begin with. And, and once again, for the individuals that I'm working with, their budget is, maybe non-existent in some cases. There's even places you can go for free to look through their clothes closet and such. So it just makes everybody feel better. Figure out what makes you feel better, and then do it. Yeah. Right?
Are you familiar with Dr. Lallardi? He's a professor at KU psychology.
Oh, yes.
My aunt gave me a book called The Depression Cure, and it's like I think the subtitle is like 7 ways or 7 steps to get over depression without drugs or anything. So there's a part in it where he talks about how there was a woman a bit older who had been depressed for like the last 30 years, and he really wanted her to walk. and she never really wanted to walk. No one could really get her off of her couch. She was very depressed. And then he said, well, let's reframe this. So then he had, I think, a granddaughter or something say, hey, because she loved to shop. She was like, hey, Grandma, do you want to go to the mall with us? And she didn't want to miss out on a good time because she loved shopping. So she ended up going with them and then ended up walking for 3 hours around the mall. Her legs didn't hurt, her knees didn't hurt. All the pain that she usually had wasn't there because she was so distracted and enjoying her time. So he was saying how you have to connect enjoyment with something, but how important physical exercise and just even a simple brisk walk,
Right.
30 minutes a few times a week.
Yes.
So I really, really like to tell people that, just get
Yes.
moving, just get the heart rate up a little bit.
Yes.
Because then she had tried everything, but that was the one thing that broke her depression.
That's awesome.
Yeah. And I obviously I do know there are some people who are, very depressed because of, certain chemicals in the body, and, they do need medication. But I think there's also a lot of times where it's situational.
Yes.
And then you get used to those feelings, and then those feelings start to become so familiar. So then you're just in that cycle.
Yeah.
But I did want to ask you too about like vices. Do you think vices are a positive? I know sometimes if it's too bad, it becomes an addiction. But have you seen that vices are beneficial, and what's your kind of guidelines with them?
So vices probably would be self-medicating, whatever that translates to. Maybe overeating. That's probably, what I categorize that as SI, which is self-injurious behavior.
Okay.
I mean, it really is. We're not perfect, and
Yeah.
so our vices are our imperfections, and so and because we're imperfect, we're just going to have them. But it's unless you have a lot of strength and positive to overcome some of those vices, you can get weighed down by it. It can take on a life of its own.
Yeah.
It's like somebody wanting to drink in order to feel better, until it comes to a point when you just simply drink all the time because it makes sense to do it all the time. And I think vices can be that way if you're not really aware of what it is that you're doing. I think people rely a lot on medication to feel better. And so if they don't feel better, for example, your example of the depression, yes, they may need medication. There may be a legitimate chemical imbalance that requires medication to stabilize you, but it's a piece to that puzzle. So, without sunlight and without nourishing food and without, I suppose, love, for a lack of other way to describe it, whether you're getting love from an animal or a good friend or a parent or yourself.
Yeah.
You really have to be able to provide all of those things for yourself. But if you can't, you've got to have that. You've got to have that within reach. And once again, the population I work with, they're alone.
Yeah.
Most all of them are completely alone.
Yeah.
And even letting me into their world is huge. And then they're so one of my big work-life balance challenges is that if I'm not going to be there all the time, I've got to be able to create some natural supports or bring other supports in so that,
Some new connections.
Yes.
Okay.
And that becomes sometimes impossible for trust issues, for, I suppose, primarily trust issues, because once again, I'm speaking only for the individuals that I happen to know and what I see every day. But having people around you, to care about. Recently, I made a new best friend, and I, am at a place in life, and she definitely was where, she didn't really have any best girlfriends, number one. And it was not what she was thinking. And I'm too busy.
Yeah.
It's all I can do to have the friends I have, right?
Yeah.
Look how long it took us to get together, for heaven's sake. So,
but we make it work.
But we make it work because
We both value it.
Important.
Yeah.
Exactly. And that sense of community and camaraderie is so valuable.
Mm-hmm.
And what I have also found within my looking at myself more in 2025 is that I have some people that I really don't enjoy spending that much time with. You know, I have made it work because some of these people really need me to make it work for them.
Yeah.
And that's another big piece that we don't always think about, because that takes away from us. So, you know, you may have only 1 or 2 or 3 really good people in your life, and you have $1 million.
Yeah.
If you can count at least 3 people that mean the world to you.
That's a high value of wealth.
Oh my gosh,
good
yes.
People in your life. And I think a lot, when you say that, it makes me think of, you know, are they providing value or venom?
Yes.
You know, are they hurting you? Is it making it where it's unbearable? And, you know, yeah, last year, 2024, there was a lot of relationships, not a lot, but a few relationships that I was really holding on to. You know, I think a lot of it stems just from my abandonment issues and having a hard time letting people go. But I've really, I think, kind of gotten to a great point with myself and with that I'm able to let go a lot easier. But I think the reason why I've been able to be better at it is because I've started to allow myself to do it.
Right.
Now that I'm open to it, it's a lot easier for me to do it. But I was wondering too, you know, with people who their family life is all kind of the same, all kind of the same mindset, and it's all, you know, the whole family might be kind of depressed, but they don't really realize it because that's just what the family dynamic is. You know, how can you recommend, if I have a friend, or I might know someone, or somebody watching might know someone that might be in a similar situation? You know, you can't do it for them,
right?
And you can be supportive, but when do you need to know to either pull back? Because I've been in situations where I'm giving so much of my heart, so much of my attention, so much of my thinking and thoughts to these people, but when they're not making the changes that they should be making, that they know they should be making, it just hurts me even more.
Right.
How is there a good gauge, do you think, that is like at some point you need to step away?
Yes. You know, so really what that is, because this is a big issue, I think, for everybody. You know, technically you're over functioning. You know, you are over functioning, and we presume that they know they need to do these things. We presume that they feel that these ideas are good ideas, and yet the sad thing and frustrating thing is that some people are just very stuck, and they actually get a lot of value out of staying stuck. It makes no sense to us, but stuck sometimes is so normal. That's their normal. And for those people that have a lot of compassion and a big heart, you know, you see why, you know, this is not good, and you want them to do better. You know, and I suppose a series like open-ended questions using motivational interviewing language just to find out where they are and what their willingness is. You know, on a scale of 1 to 10, 10 being very willing and 1 being, oh, hell no. Where are you on, you know, that scale when it comes to, you know, going on a walk for 30 minutes and getting sunshine, or, you know, not eating Muncher's donuts, or only eating Muncher's donuts once a week. I mean, you know, the reality is that, you know, it's very easy to have that insight, but many times people do not. And they like to talk about it, you know, because they like to talk about it. I have an individual that I work with who, I kid you not, it's been years and years and years. We are literally talking about all the same stuff. You know, so if you want to lose weight and you want to be different and you hate yourself for this and you hate yourself for that, you know, when it comes down to doing even one small thing to help yourself toward that goal and you aren't willing to do it, where does that leave us? And so I've recently had time stepping away from people, period, to really think about that. And you got to walk away. And maybe some of those relationships are those that you really walk away from. Maybe some of those are not really, they're not reciprocal, you know. They want what you have to offer, and they don't have very much to give back. And possibly walking away will give them the insight to say, you know, that's interesting. And then maybe not. And then, you know, it's a lot to be you and them. And, you know, I'm one for taking it on. You know, I'm a fixer. I am a fixer. I like to make things right, and I like to fix things. So that's a tough one.
Yeah.
That's a tough one.
Yeah. Well, thank you for that insight. Yeah, it's definitely been a large challenge for me my whole life.
Me
You
too.
know, because I always find myself around these friends that I'm just trying to give them my all.
Right.
And then I'm thinking, I'm putting so much of my time and energy not only into the friendship because I'm the one leading the friendship and the friendship is happening because of I'm putting the effort into it,
Exactly.
but it's also on top of that almost two relationships because then it's like I'm trying to. It's hard because I want to see the best out of everyone, and a
Mm-hmm.
lot of the times I'll see potential in people, and it makes me upset when they are wasting their potential, or they're throwing their life away,
Right.
or they're acting exactly like how they talk crap about their family and how they don't do anything, or how they're living with their parents, or how they're, you know, working minimum wage when they know they could be working and doing more.
Right.
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
hard.
Well, and something else too. It's an energy you're putting out there. It's an energy I'm putting out there. It's people know they can come to us. You don't even have to say anything. You don't even have to have a history with them. People approach you, you're approachable. You are that person, and there's nothing wrong with that. But if we do not have good boundaries, um, it can take on a life of its own.
Yeah.
And it often happens,
Yeah.
because we feel good helping people. We feel good fixing things, or we wouldn't be doing it,
Yeah.
It does. It gives us something as well.
It's like the ultimate purpose. It's like the ultimate thing.
Right,
To,
right,
yeah.
right. And part of what we're getting is somehow fulfilling something inside of us as well. So we have to find that on our own, because everyone has to find that on their own.
Yeah.
Everybody has got to find their way. You can provide guidance, you can provide advice, support, appropriate support, but it's a hard one. I think I will always have to step back and think about that. I have several very, very good friends that sometimes come down really hard on me with regard to the boundaries and my needing to set boundaries. And recently, I actually am in therapy right now. I found the most perfect person.
Nice.
Yeah, I've never done therapy.
Congratulations. I know,
Yeah.
because weren't you against it for a long time?
Well, it's just hard for me to see myself in that role.
Yeah.
And see, that's part of the humility. So I think that sometimes we lack humility the longer that we've been on this crazy planet and had to figure things out. Sometimes we lack humility, or we lack some of the humility that maybe we need to obtain. But and so she has done a really, really good job, because I sort of was diagnosed. I'm an empath. Most likely you're an empath, so that you feel everything so intensely. That unless you do something, to help that person, it's very difficult to manage that. But that is the essential codependent problem, because once we have lost those boundaries, and we're in it to win it. So their success is your success, and their success has to be their success, and so and I had compassion fatigue. There's so much,
Okay, sorry, compassion fatigue.
So compassion fatigue. So for so many years, I can't even keep track of anymore. So I'm already this person who is drawn to helping absolutely everything. It doesn't matter what it is, 4-legged, 2-legged, whatever. And then your own life happens. And so there's pretty much everything in my own personal life requires a great deal of caretaking.
Mm-hmm.
So there's really never a break. There's never a break. The time that I take a break is when, maybe I just stop.
Yeah.
So it's where do I fit on that continuum? When does it become my turn to be caretaked? When does it become my turn for everybody to be helping me with things that I cannot figure out? So
that's amazing, because I remember the last conversation we had, you were asking that question of, when do we get a break? When do we get time to not have to fix everything or take care of everything or have everyone come to us?
Right.
So that's amazing that in that time you have, one, found this therapist, two, learned and explored this fatigue, and three, been willing and open to let yourself have that time.
Right.
So what
Right.
what have you done then in your personal life, if you want to share, if you would like to share, that you give yourself that time, and how do you find that in your such busy schedule?
Well, that's a work in progress.
Yeah.
I think, you know, actually, my kids came to me and they were very concerned about my health. They were concerned about my health and my well-being, and that's huge. You know, that for me is very motivational. I don't feel that my relationships with my kids would be in the codependent class. I feel I've raised two really good people who, I mean, I'm mom and I'm respected as mom, but we're also the very best of friends. So I know positively they could come to me and say anything and everything. You know, sometimes they should censor things, but you know, that's okay.
You're getting the raw, real them.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. And so, you know, the fact that it was weighing heavy on them and their heart, you know, it was really good to know. I'm not getting younger. It's so funny. And no, I'm not going to discuss the number that I happen to be, but it's interesting.
No
I know. Because inside I am half of that for sure.
Yeah.
And so, you know, that for me recently, that is the weirdest thing. You know, to look at some people that are my age, maybe even a couple of years younger, and oh my gosh, they just seem so old.
Yeah.
And it's just recently that I've really noticed that. And so I don't know what that is. I think that's a gift. I think that, that maybe that's what I'm going to work on a little bit more, is to kind of find that inside of people, you know, because if you're 60 and you find you're 30, imagine how much fun life could be.
Yeah.
You know, and imagine what you might be willing to do for yourself.
Yeah.
So, you know, and no matter what we do, some people are just going to be committed to destruction.
Yeah.
I mean, that is unfortunate as well. You know, as we move into 2025, 26, 27, 28, none of us really know what is in store for us. And so we're going to have we're going to have to do a lot of adulting and have some really high top boots on. That's what I'm thinking. So
it's funny. My parents always say that they never feel their age. And excuse me, especially for like my dad, the age gap has always been such a big thing in my life. But it's also a big thing because I think about a lot, like I want my parents in my life for as long as I can. So with them being significantly older, you know, it does bother me, and they can't do anything about it.
Right.
I try not to bring it up as much because I think it does kind of bother them a little bit, because it's like, well, what are we going to do, Nico? We can't do anything about it.
Right.
But what they can do about it is they can keep on top of their health. They can watch what they eat. They can, you know, do the walks and do the small exercises. But yeah, it's funny you say that, because ever since I was a kid, they've always said that they feel like they're a lot younger. My dad always says he just feels like a big kid.
Exactly.
You know, just with some more responsibilities here and there.
That's right. That's right.
Yeah, they both have done really well with keeping their youthfulness.
That's great. So that's great.
They never, because I'll see people who might look younger, but they might act older. So then to me, they appear older.
Right.
Or it's, that is that age if you allow it to be.
Right.
So.
And a lot of that is losing joy and losing hope. And I can't, you know, if anybody's honest, you know, we're surrounded by lots of opportunity to lose our joy and our hope.
Yeah.
And it doesn't get handed to you, and you can't go to a store and buy it. Yeah. And you know, I have a lot of people that would get joy out of, you know, shopping, right? Shopping. I get joy out of getting something for nothing and being a treasure hunt, right? You never know what you're going to find, and that gives me joy because it's just something I didn't even know that I really needed. But the world is definitely lacking joy and hope. And you cannot get that unless you dig deep.
Yeah, because I think true raw happiness comes from within yourself.
Right.
So because I think a lot of people are clouded and they try to mask and cover and not work within themselves, then it's all. I think there's a lot of hate in the world, especially in America, I can only speak on because that's where we live.
Right.
But because people don't work on themselves and
Right.
they're not happy with who they see in the mirror.
Right.
And they want to avoid it. And that leads me into another question I have for you is, having those hard conversations with others, how do you find it if someone's watching and listening? How can you recommend going into those hard conversations? Because a lot of the times people avoid hard conversations.
Right.
And that could even be with themselves.
Right.
But with a relationship or with a partner, with a family member, how have you seen best fit for someone to approach a hard conversation?
So I feel very, 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 very strongly that people need to listen more and talk less.
We have 2 ears and 1 mouth for a reason.
And if they want to know what you're thinking, they will ask you. So, you have to get permission to give advice. Ask permission to give advice, boy, it really looks like you're having a really hard time today. Why do you think that is? What's going on with you? I'm interested. This could be somebody that is sitting on the street corner, how you doing today? I really like that hat you're wearing. I mean, there's a lot of really random things that you can do to engage somebody in a positive way. You go up and you say, I don't know what's wrong with you. Get up off this street corner and go get a job.
Yeah.
It's people somehow, the idiots that we are, think that we just need to be telling everybody what they need to do and how they need to do it. I mean, that just is a reality. That is something that I, am surrounded by all the time. Some of these individual friends that I am rethinking, do a lot of that. They just automatically feel that somehow they've got this innate wisdom, which oftentimes they'll say, in my experience, and then there we go. And so, if somebody wants to know what your experience is, they will ask for it. Or, you can even offer it up, but I have some ideas if you would like to hear them. Or, what are your thoughts? We could, how could we maybe talk about this, problem solve this? Yeah. Open-ended questions are the best. No judgment, totally objective, a tone of voice. The tone of voice you ask that question in, how loud your voice is. Eye contact. Eye contact is huge for me. That lack of eye contact is an immediate. I mean, that's an immediate thing for me. Yeah. Body language, and I think about body language a lot. Because sometimes I just do this in general.
It's comfortable.
It is. Yeah. It's comfortable and it makes sense. Yeah. But it's off-putting depending on what it is that you're dealing with and what's going on.
Yeah.
I tend to smile all the time, and I get that a lot. I think that I just walk down the street and I'm just smiling. And so as a result, I have a lot of people that talk to me, and I have a lot of random conversations. And as time goes on, if I see someone whose hair I really like, I comment on it, the color, the style, or the clothes, or, oh my gosh, you look like walking art. That's one of my things.
Oh, I like that one.
Some people look so cool.
That's
and
awesome.
I would never do what they're doing. Yeah. But the fact that they have the courage.
They're killing it. Yeah,
oh my gosh, for real. And you know what? It is amazing what a little thing can do to just simply brighten somebody's day. Yeah. And that's not giving advice. Yeah. That is like recognizing, some inner beauty that they probably haven't recognized themselves, because if they're dressed like that going down the street, they probably don't. I mean, maybe that's confidence, but maybe that's also, fuck the world and look at me.
Yeah.
And it's like, well, I am walking art, and so I don't know. I just
that's awesome. It sounds like with hard conversations, you just lead with compassion and love.
Always.
And you just you really kind of put it in a way where, and that's something you bring up too, is I never say I want to tell you how to live your life. Right. I say I have what's worked for me if you'd like me to share. I keep it where it's not you do this, you do this, you do that, because I feel like with school, excuse me, and just like with growing up as parents, when adults, parents tell you certain things, you almost don't want to do it because you don't like being told what to do.
Exactly.
But when you're offered suggestions and ideas, or you make it, you phrase it where you're giving them the idea, but they think that it's their idea.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
I think, and yeah, wow. I mean, you just said a lot of really good points, and it's funny. I used to, as a child, as a young kid, always smile, always say hi, always. But then, when life hit in probably end of high school, college, I almost got a different demeanor, and I almost wanted to be tougher. I wanted to. I don't know if it was because I just wanted to come off as cooler, more of a man, harder, but I wouldn't smile as much, and I would have more of a straight face. I'd have more of an aggressive, "Why are you looking at me?" Instead of it used to be, I would always smile, and I noticed that, and I've changed that in the past few years, and my energy. That's the first part. That's the first step, is like the appearance. So like if they see someone and I'm not smiling, they're probably not going to smile back.
Yeah, you're not approachable.
Yeah, but it's so fun. I do this a lot where I'll walk and I won't smile, and I'll see people smile at me first. Most of the time, no. Maybe once, maybe twice, maybe a nod, maybe a weird look, but then I'll change it, and I'll go from just smiling or waving, maybe having a short conversation, maybe, "Oh, I like those shoes," or, "Oh, I really like that bag, ma'am."
Yeah.
Completely different. Not only does it change the response that I get, but it changes how I feel on the inside.
Yeah.
And it's not even if I don't like that outfit, I'm not just going to say, "Hey, I really like that outfit. That's the coolest outfit I've ever seen," but I'm genuine with it.
Right.
And I think I challenge a lot of my friends to do that, because a lot of them have never done that.
Right.
But I'm just getting back to how I used to be, and how when I was a kid, there wasn't a lot of judgment, there wasn't a lot of care, there wasn't a lot of outside noise. So getting back to that in the past few years has been really powerful.
Yeah.
And it's been beautiful to see. There's multiple videos of commercials where, someone does one nice thing, and then that person does a nice thing. And then it goes all
the whole pay it forward concept. Yes, absolutely. Absolutely. No, I really, really, really agree with that.
Excuse me.
And I also find it interesting, even on a walk with some really, very progressive people. I'm the one talking to the people that are passing by or looking at them, just making eye contact and having an approachable face and eye contact. It's amazing. It's amazing what you get from that. And so, and we can't really give that gift to anybody else. They've got to figure it out themselves, but it does work if you can get that gift, if you can be that person. Try it for a day. Yeah.
And it throws people off.
It totally throws them off.
Especially now with people being on their phones, or people being on their phones, or, it's so, I think it's seen so much less.
Yeah.
So, and sometimes people don't know how to react.
Right.
It's like they don't have that.
Right.
If
they don't make eye contact.
No.
People don't want to make. It's scary to make eye contact, because that's a real thing. If you make eye contact,
that's a connection.
It is a connection, and I love that. I love the. Okay, I think that's behind me. That's okay, but I do. For me, that's a challenge. It's a challenge.
Yeah.
And especially if it's a situation where eye contact is appropriate and should be happening, and then they're not making it.
Yeah.
Like if I'm in a professional capacity with somebody, or I can be pretty intense. I'll own that. I can be very intense because,
passionate.
I will passionate. And, and I will look people in the eye, and I ask a lot of questions. That's part of my gift to the people that I work with. I go to a lot of appointments that they, would never be able to, look that particular provider in the eye. And they would never be able to ask those questions because, doctors are always smarter. Yeah. Lawyers are always smarter, and so they shouldn't ask questions. They shouldn't, even think. And so, and that doesn't serve them ever. And so I've stopped that completely, unless they decide they don't want me to go, but I've got a wealth of questions and, and I love going into appointments with people, and the doctors speak in words that there isn't a single human on the planet would know what you're talking about. Yeah. Even my parents included. And it's like, oh no, okay, okay. All right, now we're going to talk English, and now I need to know what's going on so that I can make sure everybody is okay. Yeah. And sometimes that's well received, and sometimes that's not, and it won't make a difference because it just reinforces my determination to do that. Yeah. So harsh world, man.
Yeah. I'm finishing a book right now called The Mastery of Love by Don, I think Miguel. and it is, I think everyone should be required to read this book. It is so powerful. If you haven't read it or know it, I think you should look into it.
Okay, text me the name.
I will, yeah.
Okay.
And it's just so powerful, and I think, when I was younger, growing up, especially when I do my videos and stuff and do interviews, I get a lot of flack. Not a lot, but I get a decent amount. I get a lot of slick comments. I get a lot of hate, and even sometimes comments on the videos. But I don't internalize it anymore.
That's really good, because that can be hard.
Yeah, one, I love myself.
Good.
Two, I know who I am. Three, I'm aware now that they're reflecting or deflecting.
Yes, deflecting.
They're deflecting, and they're so hurt in their heart and their soul. They're not comfortable with who they are, and that they're pressed by it. They're like, oh, that person is either A, exuding positivity, I wish I could do that, or B, following their dreams, doing what they've always wanted to, and they wish they could be in that position.
Yep.
So I also never take it personal, and I never take it I really just get sad, because it makes me think that they're in a bad place and that they're in such a world of hurt.
Right.
And in the book, it also talks about how that could be your own hell, is in being in so much despair and being at such a low point in your life that could be hell on earth.
Right.
So it makes me sad that there's a lot of that.
Well, and think about that. Who are you to even decide and make judgments like that about somebody
and make their assumptions,
self-expression?
Because they might not even know what's going on.
Of course, absolutely. Yeah. It's and the really, really unfortunate thing. Everything you said is true. That they obviously are at a very bad place, but probably they don't even realize that they are.
Yeah.
And they, for whatever really dysfunctional reason, feel better.
Yeah.
By shaming somebody else, or making them feel bad, or attempting to make them feel every bit as miserable as they are.
Yeah, because then they feel bigger.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And how does that even happen? I've never been able to understand that. I've been around a lot of that forever. I mean, I have. I know what that's like. I've been treated that way. I'm sure I'll be treated that way again. I do a much better job of handling that as well, and walking away. And it still niggles me. I can't say that it's just gone completely, but I do. I think about it. I walk away and I think about it. Because we are human.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. Oh, also, I wanted to show you.
I was noticing you're still, do you wear it all the time, or do you have to take it on and off?
I never take it off.
Great.
Ever since we put it on, I've never taken it off.
That's great.
Yeah, sometimes
it looks really good. I think it's a good look too.
I think so too. Sometimes if I'm doing something like washing dishes, it'll hit it sometimes.
Yep.
So it's just kind of like saying hi.
Yeah. Oh, I like that. That's a great way of looking at it. Yeah.
And I've been a lot more open to the sun. I don't think about it as negatively when it's in my sight and I can't see and it's blinding me. So yeah.
It's a healing energy. I believe light is a healing energy.
Yeah.
Yeah. I do.
Yeah. Well, Mindy, this, out of all of the ones that we've done, has been my favorite.
I think it's the best.
Yeah.
Yep.
And of course, I want you on as many as we can ever do. And I know you also are interested in coming and doing and sitting and talking to others with me in public.
I'd love to do that.
So at some point this year, we'll definitely have to do that.
I think that's great.
Yeah.
That could be very interesting downtown too at some point, based on all that I know and who might come and approach us. With the weather's nice, maybe even just being at the park, seeing what happens at the park.
Yeah. I'm gonna start 5 minutes with strangers, where I just find a stranger and have a sit down conversation with them for 5 minutes and just film it just like this. And then just post it. Yeah.
I love it. I love it.
Thank you.
Colorful. Oh, you're welcome.
Appreciate
welcome.
You.
Yeah, I appreciate you. I love you as well.
And I'm excited for our 2025.
See, now that's positive. I'm working on being excited for 2025. I've got a lot of good plans. So no matter, what the universe has in store for us, I got my own agenda.
Yeah. Time to execute for you. Yeah.
That works.
All right, y'all, that's going to do it for this episode. Thank you all so much for watching. As always, if you guys have any questions or comments, put them down below. And if you want to follow more stuff behind the scenes at Landlocked Entertainment and on all social media. But besides that, do you have anything else you want to say?
I don't. Have a great day. Be nice to somebody.
Yeah. Peace and love, kind of just because, and I'll see you in the next one.
Rock and roll.